really am excited to be here with you today. Let me just give you a brief summary of maybe what I do, just so you know. On your handout, it says that I am a community viability specialist with Virginia Cooperative Extension. And you're looking at that going, I thought they just did 4-H, or they were just in landscaping and agriculture, or family and consumer sciences. Well, all of that's true, but we also have a phase of this program of extension that works with communities. And my job is when I'm called upon by governing bodies or agencies, organizations within the state, my job is to help them answer their questions. So I work on anything from biofuels, bioenergy, to agritourism, waste management, food-based businesses. My areas of expertise are in leadership development, strategic planning, and facilitation. So that's a pretty broad range, isn't it? And I was up in the center part of Virginia last evening working with the group that had some questions and some issues and trying to work through all that with them. But I've worked on a lot of projects in this area, and with Lisa, I got to tell you what, you have one of the most phenomenal economic development offices here, and Lisa Fultz right there is one of the reasons why. Seriously. So when it comes to being interested and supportive of entrepreneurs, you are surrounded by support system. So take advantage of it. My job here today is talk to you about marketing and the marketing opportunities that your business has and how you utilize those. So let me get a little feedback from you guys first. Tell me, first of all, how many of you are, and can we do this by raising hands? How many of you are currently in business for yourself? Okay, so we have some proprietors in this room that are running a business. All right, and the rest of you are working for a business. Yes. How many of you are thinking about an idea that would actually, where you would open a business or you'd market a product? How many of you have that on your minds? Okay, great. How many of you are nonprofit focused? Got a few. All right, that's good. How many of you have already developed a product and have launched it? One or two. What was your product, Betty Sue?
It's a rolling bag tag-along.
A rolling bag. I love the rolling bag tag-alongs. And so have you marketed it? Have you got it on the shelf?
Well, I haven't, but I need to. It's been kind of, there was a lull period, and I want to
launch it again.
And
all right, so rolling bag technology. Who else has a product? Yvonne, did you?
It's actually a product. I'm thinking about opening up like a driver improvement school.
Driving improvement school. I've been to the driving improvement schools. They're wonderful. They help. Ella, what are you doing?
I have a wig shop, and I help a lot of ladies going through chemo.
Yes.
And I also accept their insurance, and I'll file for them, and I custom fit those wigs.
So wonderful. What a service and a product. Now you purchase the wigs from some other company, but then you help them, and you're located right here. Yes. Fabulous. Okay, you get the idea? You have identified a product, you have identified a need, and you have addressed that need with a response. Nonprofits, you have identified a gap in services. You have recognized there's a need, you've identified ways to solve that, and you've gone out and you've found sources of funding, right? You hope, that will support that. Business owners, you have already established your business. You wrote your, how many of you have written your business plan? Oh, all right. We need to operate on the fact that you are going to write a business plan. How many of you agree to write a business plan after this session? All hands need to go up on that one. Yes. And part of your business plan will be a marketing plan. And I want to give you the basics of some things, and then we're going to talk very specific about certain opportunities you have for marketing. Now, let me qualify this by saying, when I told you what I did, at no point did I say I was a marketing expert, did I? which I don't think I'm an expert in anything anymore. Trust me. I don't know. The older I get, the more I know I don't know. So I think we're all on that page. However, in order to prepare for today, I have done a lot of research for you and talked to a lot of different people about what they're doing and what the best strategies are. So I am bringing you the best of their best. Is that all right? And everything that I should say is in your handout. It's in the PowerPoint presentation that you've got. I've given you, I normally don't do this, give you the exact PowerPoint, but I did that today. I thought you just need to have that language just in case we get questions. So let's get started and talk about a couple of the basics, and I'll get my remote here. First of all, I want to share with you, make sure this mic is on, I want to share with you an article that was in Friday, October 14th, Danville Register and Bee. By the way, my office is actually located at the Institute outside of Danville, but I work all across the state, and I love coming to Martinsville, Henry County, and Patrick County. Just beautiful and great people. The governor said, Virginia and America's future economic success lies in the ability of small businesses to grow and create jobs. Do you agree with that? I do too. I do too. No longer are we able to secure the big elephant or the buffalo, kill it, bring it in here, and feed off of it for years. That's what our economic developers, that's what we've practiced in the South forever. We go up north, we get the big company, we bring it back, we offer it all kinds of services, and then after a certain length of time, that company departs and we're no longer there. So I think we've realized that small businesses are the secret. That means we develop entrepreneurs. That means that we take those entrepreneurs and we move them forward. Sometimes, have you ever heard of a phrase called economic gardening? Of course, Robin has. We've talked about this several times. Lisa has. That is something where you take an existing business that has potential to grow. They've already proven that they've got a success. And you help them to the next level, to access new companies and new resources. So those are some of the terms that you're going to hear as you move forward. Basics about marketing. This is what you know, and I'll just chat about this a little bit. What's your product? Where are you selling it? How are you located? What's your place? What's your price point? And how do you promote it? So I'm going to take you through the first three, and then we're going to dig into the fourth one. These are the very basics of marketing. You know that when you develop your product, it must fit your mission. Now that means in your business plan, there needs to be a little bit of thought given to the purpose and mission of your company. Why are you in existence? Do you know? I hope so. Recently, and I'll share a couple personal stories, which I hope is okay, especially when you're being taped. You're not sure if you want them to go outside the room or not, but I'll tell you anyway. Our church is going through a kind of a revisioning process. And the discussion centered around what's your vision and then what's your mission. And my daughter called and she says, I need clarification on exactly what the difference is. I said, honey, think about the fact 3 years from now, what do you hope life will be like on a personal vision? What do you hope? If it were the best of the best, what would you hope it would be? So get that vision for what you want your business to be 3 to 5 years from now. What will it be? Will you be selling at a certain rate? Will you be staffing? What's your employment structure going to look like? Just get that vision, that exceptional look for you. But then you have to settle down, okay, what is my real mission here? What is my purpose? I was talking with Sandra, who runs, you got a brochure on her business. And I'm all about massages, love massages. They certainly energize you and make you feel great. But what is your mission? Is it to relieve pain? Is it to make people more comfortable? What is your mission? And then you know, because most businesses could get into mission creep. I was talking with Elijah about his business just a few minutes ago, and he sells automobiles. Well, not really. He really sells trucks and SUVs, right? Did I get that right? So he has found his mission. So make sure that whatever product you're doing fits the mission. If it's something you're selling, if it's something you're developing, if it's a service, make sure it fits the mission. Have you done your market analysis? This is where Lisa can help you. Lisa and Robin, between the two, they have access to resources that can help you with your small business development centers, your economic development offices. They can help you with your market analysis. They also can help you identify other resources if you need to go into more detail. Make sense so far? Even on nonprofits. What other nonprofits are providing the services? What kind of funding options do you have? Where are the grantors that will give you money? So think about some of those. And the biggest thing is, where's your competition? You know, Disney believes that everybody and everything is their competition. Can you believe that? Because do I buy the washer and dryer or do I take a trip to Disney? You get the idea? Okay, well, think about your own product. Think about if you want people to donate to your nonprofit. Everybody's competing for those dollars. How are you going to convince that person, that consumer, to invest in you? So keep that in mind. And you notice I've said write it down. And you all agreed before I started that you would write a business plan. It doesn't mean it's going to be War and Peace. It's not that long. It's short. It's to the point. Lisa and Robin can give you an outline, and I know they've got them because I've got a lot, and I'll share them with you if they don't have a template for you to use. So write it down. There's also a service plan. You know what that service plan's about? Customer service. How do you deliver exceptional customer service on a continuous basis? How do you evaluate that service, and how do you improve it? That has to be written down. You're always working to exceed those expectations. Think a little bit about how you generate ideas for your business. Now, some of you who are brand new entrepreneurs are thinking about things. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking I want to be in business. I talk about this plenty of times, but I have yet to run. Well, now that's not exactly true. Years ago, do you remember a little company called Discovery Toys? It's an international company. They sell educational toys. They do home demonstrations to families. Y'all, nobody knows Discovery. What? Thank you. What a marketing opportunity for that company in this area. Well, my children were little, and I loved those toys. Loved them. So I bought the kit. Lady from Lovingston, Virginia. Husband was a professor at UVA. Can you imagine a Virginia Tech grad dealing with UVA? But I did. And she taught me all about those toys. And I went into homes and I sold toys. I have gifts that I received from the company for sales. So see, I had to run a little business. And then that business got too big and I could not do with my own children what I was telling other people to do. I messed up on my mission, right? Now that's what I want you to remember. I knew my mission. My mission at that point was to be a very good and effective mother. And I was using that as a tool, and then it became a business, and then that business affected my whole mission, so I had to reevaluate that. So I wanted you to think about that. When you're thinking about any product, you've got to test that product out on some people. Just because you think it's the best product ever does not mean that it's going to sell. Louis Foreman, who's the CEO of Edison Nation. Do you know Edison Nation? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. No? Well, there are other companies like them, and what they help you do is they take your idea, a product idea, and they take it from conception to production and marketing. They do the whole 9 yards. He said in a session, he was actually in Danville a few months ago, and I went on your behalf to listen to what he had to say. He said, people don't need your product, they want it. What makes your product something that consumers want to purchase? I've often been told that you don't sell anyone anything. You help people buy what they want. You get the difference? It's not my job to sell you on a massage. It's It's not my job to sell you a vehicle or to sell you anything. My job is to help you find what you want or what you need and to help you make that investment, to educate you, to help you see the benefits, and then to direct you. And if I'm a good salesperson, if I'm effective, that may mean that I do not always have your product that you need. But I bet you I know where it is, and I will refer you to that point. I have a good friend who's in a hardware business out in the community where I live. She's amazing, and she practices this regularly. When a person walks into her hardware store, if she doesn't have it, she will call around until she finds out who does. Is that customer service? You bet it is, and she has trained her employees to do the same. Small business, opened it herself, and has built the business. Amazing what that whole concept of let me help you find what you need does. Okay, so I want to make sure that I cover these product development stages with you just as a thought. The first part about product development, this is for all the new entrepreneurs, but I'm also going to say that you current entrepreneurs, you need to constantly reevaluate the idea stage. You're not a constantly renewal of your product. What is my idea? Write it down. Create the development. Will the consumer use it? So how am I going to test this idea out with consumers? How am I going to package this idea? Now I know for some of you it's about how do I put it in a box or a bag, or how do I get it packaged so I can ship it to different places. For others of you, how do I put it into a brochure or a website, or how do I package my store? We're going to chat about that for just a little bit. What's the shelf life? Now, a while back I did a presentation related to food-based businesses, and shelf life of food is important, isn't it? Has to be tested. Shelf life of packaging has to be tested too. You realize that? You want a brand, we'll talk about branding. You want consistency in design or color or something so people recognize you. You know, we can put up a logo after logo and you'll recognize it without any words, won't you? Because of the color or the shape and design. But your brand, your product and your shelf life of your product has to be tested. You know, think about some products that were on the shelf a while back. And we laugh about pet rocks. You remember those? And remember the thing, what was that thing called with the grass? Chia pets. There you go. Remember all of that? And you're thinking, I could have thought about that. You know, I got that stuff in my backyard. Yes, you do. But that whole idea and that concept and developing. But those things right now may not work quite as well as they did back then. So the packaging has to be different. It has to be relaunched. And I think we were talking about relaunching the bags, the pull bags, right? To figure out a new way to design or a new way to get it advertised, different things like that. And then there's the test marketing stage. Test it out. Sometimes people find that doing the testing is done if you do it in a smaller market, that it's more effective. Now, let me give you an example. How many of you go to the farmer's market in this area? Oh, good, right. Thank you for supporting local food. Thank you. And some farmers markets allow entrepreneurs who have things they've made. And maybe it's a food, or maybe it's some kind of hand design or something like that. Or a local community does a craft show, and they allow you to come in and to actually sell your product. That is a great way to run a test market. Or it might be you could rent a kiosk in the local mall or shopping area, or you could partner with a local store, and you could test market your product right there to see, and just ask the consumer, could you give me 2 minutes of your time? I just want to do a quick interview. Here's what I have. Could you test it out? Could you test this rolling bag out as you move around the store today and see how it operates? You know, and then come back and give an assessment. There are all kinds of little tools you can do to test your product. Don't stop thinking about it or trying new solutions in that. And then there's the commercialization stage. If it is a product that's got to be distributed, what's your distribution plan? Who are you going to partner with? What are the companies that can package this in a way that can actually send it out to market? And we're going to talk about your consumers in a little bit in just a second too. So think about that the idea stage. And I've listed for you all the different opportunities for you to think about: the price, the target audience, who your competition is, what's the cost of manufacturing, all of these. And if you're in a business, what's the cost of operation? Now, all of this is part of your business plan. You've already done that. You've already written it out. You've played with the numbers in a safe environment before it cost you anything. You've figured out how many years is it going to take for me to make a profit. Now, those of you in business, you understand that, don't you? And the reason you understand that it's not going to be weeks and months and years, and just a year or so, is because you did your business plan. You did your financial model. You did that because the bank, now unless you're, wealthy and have all the money in your pocket that you need, you probably are going to need partnership with the bank, right? Well, you've got to market your business to that bank. That means you've got to have a well-written business plan, marketing plan, customer service plan to show that you know what you're talking about. Banks also want to know what's your expertise in this. Can you do this? I don't think a bank would loan me money to open a restaurant. I'm a really good eater, but I do not know the first thing about cooking for crowds. I am not ServSafe certified. I have never worked in a restaurant. I do not know anything about budgeting or buying. I do not have any connections. So do you see why, even though I think I would be really good at this, they will not let me open a restaurant. They will not fund me. It's a walking disaster. Nor would they let me open a car dealership, because I don't know the first thing about how to do titling. I've been married for 36 years, and I don't think 1 year in those 36 have I had to pay my tag fee. Do you understand? I have a wonderful husband who knows how to do that and does it for me. So those are things they want you to know. But you're going to put all of those costs, all of those factors in that business plan. How do you know if the consumer wants it? Remember going back to the statement we heard earlier? How do you know? Did you do a market analysis? Did you interview people? Did you show them all of the things you want to do? Making sense so far? And y'all stop me if you have questions, because we'll pause. But I've given that to you. One of the things I promised I would include just a little bit, how many food entrepreneurs do I have in the room? Oh, okay, well then we're going to move through this pretty quickly. But Martinsville is pretty well known for its food entrepreneurs. I mean, you have some great caterers. Pigs or us, please. Wonderful. Is it hoppers, hoopers? Hoopers. Sauces. Oh my gosh, Southern Living and all that and more. So these are great things. These food entrepreneurs, they do their research. They know what the trends are. They track them. And so I did a list just in case we had a couple months ago, we did a local foods workshop up at Spencer Penn Center in Spencer, Virginia with Lisa. And so I kept a little bit of this in here for you. You just do your research. What's the trend on bags with wheels right now? Are shoppers using them? Is it student-oriented? Are the students using them more? And at what level are students using those? Is it middle school? Is it elementary? Where are they using them? Senior adults? Is senior shopping? What's your market? Because, see, it's part of this that looking at the trends that you define your market. Who needs them when? Are there business? Are there speakers that need them? What do they want and how do they want it? So these were just some food trends in 2008, and then we did another search for 2011 and found out, and I bet you if you looked at these, and you would find you fit in some of these trends. How many of you are interested in locally sourced foods? See? You want to know where your food is coming from. How many of you heard all about the mobile food trucks? Yes. And does Martinsville have one? I don't think. They do. Wonderful. Wonderful. So do they tweet? Do they tweet where their location or email or something? Great tools. So you track them, as you're going. You also have some great restaurants in this area that are finding great tools to market. So you need, be thinking about this. This also applies to your business too and how you track them. Okay. When you think about development, I want you to also remember that part of development is, are you going to need a patent for your invention? If you are, that's a long-term process, so you need to plan for that time in the development stage. How hard is this, what you're going to do, your business, to duplicate? So just because you think it's a good idea, somebody else is also going to think it's a good idea. So if it's very easy to duplicate, that means your competition is coming quickly. And you're going to have to plan how your business will separate itself from the remaining competition. You think about it, as soon as a good idea comes on board, somebody's duplicating you right behind it, right? So you got to think about the competition behind that. Especially in nonprofits, if there's a lot of grant money out there for you, somebody else is going to be providing that service too. They're going to find a way to tap into it, so just be aware of that. When we think about consumer testing, you know, there are lots of people that are told, you should do this. You are fabulous at it. And the question you have to ask is, do people really like it, or are they saying this? So that's where your test market comes in. And you've got some ideas. We've chatted about ideas about how to do the test, demonstrations, partnering with other companies to show, get consumers to test this for a while, ask them if they'll use it, and then give you feedback on it. And sometimes you can make corrections that will improve it, get that back out, retest it, get their feedback, and then offer them something for doing that, for their trouble. Isn't it cool to have, if somebody has, I have a friend who makes tote bags, and so she gets you to test them, you know, like, does everything fit in it? What does it look like? What do the handles do? How does this work? And then every now and then she gives a free one to you. Yes, that works. So be aware of how you're going to test your product. How are you going to package that? Does it look good to consumer? Now, how in the world do you package a business, a physical location? How do you package it?
First off, it needs to be clean and inviting and lively, colorful.
Clean, inviting, lively, colorful. Exactly. From the time you approach the business, think about what it looks like. What do your neighbors look like? What are their businesses? How's it designed? How's the outside looking? What's the signage like? What's the greenery look like? When you enter the driveway, is it clear where to go and where to park? Is your front door at the right location? Is the glass in your door clean? That's packaging. When they go in your business, is it inviting to them? Is it lit appropriately? Now, I'm not saying you need bright lights. Do you understand? Appropriately for you. Outside lighting, is it creating an atmosphere of safety? These are all things that relate to packaging the physical location of your business. It also impacts the full community. Just like in a neighborhood, how you treat your lawn is important to your neighbor. How you treat the outside of your business is important to a neighbor. What's the signage like? What are the sign ordinances in your community that influence the type of signage you put up? Is it appropriate? When you think of Martinsville, what is the image that you want for your community? And how does your business contribute to creating that image? This is packaging. Interior. Is it clean? We talked about that. You mentioned this. Is it clean? Is it organized? Just recently, and I brought an article, a friend of mine who runs a ladies' clothing store in Danville just remodeled. And I have not had a chance to go in. But in the Star Tribune this past week, there was an article about Rippey's Invest in downtown Danville. What a great publicity article. He didn't have to pay a penny for this. And it's all over the region with a picture of his store. And the first thing I said when I saw this last week was, I need to go. I need to go see what he's done to the store. And what he's done, it looks like he's opened up from the front door all the way through the store. So it gives me a path. That's packaging. Display is packaging. How many of you, and I'll use examples that are not in this area because they're a little safer to use, but if you've ever been to Danville and gone to the gingerbread house, a couple of you have been, you understand packaging. Who would have thought that you needed a $100 wreath hanging on your front door? And not only did you need one wreath, but you need one for every season because they've got all these funny things in it. As you wander through that store, you see all the ideas. It's all the packaging of that environment. Well, whether it's a storefront or whether it's an individual object, how are you going to package your bags? Do they fold flat so I can ship them easily and cut down on shipping cost? Are they covered so that no dirt's going to get in it? If it's a food product, there are regulations about how you package food products. And trust me, if you need that, Lisa's got, or she can get my presentation on food, and we can give you all kinds of information about packaging. And I've listed some things for you on your handout that you'll see some websites that you'll want to refer to on packaging. Think also about the consumer that you are trying, your target audience. If the consumer is a child, you're going to package things differently, and there are requirements for that child-proof packaging that you have to do and the types of things. So you might package it differently to attract the child, more visuals. If you're packaging to just for females, and maybe it's oils or different soaps or different things, you're trying to create a different type of reaction. Sometimes we try in our packaging to create a memory or to trigger a memory or some type of a smell that, like in soaps and lotions and different things, that packaging, that whole concept, so that they'll make you want to purchase it because you remember something wonderful that has happened. But think about packaging, whether it's your business, whether it's your office, whether your literature that you provide, all of that is part of your packaging. We're going to skip the food part. There are different tools, and I've put in here thinking that we might have some food entrepreneurs in here. In the final production stages, think about who's going to be doing that with you. How are you going to get your product from the idea stage, through the development, through testing, and into final production? Do any of you watch, there's a television show called Shark Tank? Some of you do. As entrepreneurs, you'd find that interesting. It's where an entrepreneur has an idea, and they're trying to convince investors to bring that product to market, to put some money into it, to help expand that product sales. In that whole product design, it's a distribution phase. What is your target market area that you want to take? How will you get it out there? How will you sell it to whatever the trade is that you're trying to get it to? So when you think about consumers, where are they? If your market is just in the immediate vicinity, you are susceptible to immediate economic downturns. If your market is a larger area, then it's more, you've got a little bit less of an impact if something happens in the immediate vicinity. Does that make sense? You're okay with that? So when you think about the area and how you're going to target, when you're selling wigs to people, what's your market? One of the best things about it is people will drive for quality and for service. Do you all agree with that? Quality and service. So when think about how you're going to get it out, how you're going to move it forward from production into distribution and to actually get it into commercial. On nonprofits, when you think about who's investing in your nonprofit, where are they? Why do they have an interest in you? If you're a local nonprofit serving local, does that mean only local individuals can contribute? I hope you're not thinking so, because there are people who have lived in a locality who have moved away, who still have an investment in the local area. Now you've got to find them and target them and create the memory of investing or reinvesting in their local community. Those are some opportunities. So that's part of the commercialization stage, to know where you are. We talked about product development and consumer testing and some different things that you can do when you're working with markets. Price sensitivity, and we're going to chat about price, is important, so I want to hold that for just a second. All right, let's talk about those consumers for just a minute. Do you know how to find out the numbers for people who might be? Do you know who your consumer is, first of all? What age group? We were talking about wigs. Obviously, it's women that you're interested in and that you're targeting, and probably there's the age group. It's from whatever to whatever when it comes to wigs, isn't it? It doesn't really matter. It's anyone. But you know that individual usually will have a medical condition. What about the rest of you? You know your target market? All right, good. If not, there are some factors that you have to consider. Who can afford to buy your product? What's in it for them to afford it? Is there a certain educational level that you're looking for? That will determine how you market to that individual. And then the geographic location. Now, if you do know who your consumer is, then go out and get the numbers. If you do not have access to internet, then we need your local library, community college can help you with that. The American Fact Finder has a brand new website, and I've put this up here. It's a little bit trickier to navigate than the old website. So if you're not comfortable doing this, and I pulled some information for you, and I hope did I include it in your handout? It should be the next page. Good. So this was a page that generated off of the American Fact Finder. But the best part about this is that if you do not have access to this, Lisa Fox can help you get the numbers. I called her office and asked, and they said, call Lisa, she knows exactly all the numbers. So be aware of that. But your economic development office is there. Also in your small business development centers, they can help you do that research to get that. But get the data so you know who your market is. If it's children in your local vicinity, you may not have enough children to support your product, to make you a profit. And again, all of that will be addressed in your business plan. So your family and your friends, you know, farmers markets are great places if you've got a product that's locally made or generated, that they'll let you try there. Festivals and fairs, great place to test a product. Trade shows. You have trade shows here in the Martinsville area, don't you? Use them. Demonstrate your product. Get a booth. Show your product at that trade show. There's actually one going on at Danville today that some of the local distributors, they love that trade show because everybody comes. Why do people go to trade shows? See what's there, but they really go to get something free. They want a ruler. They do. Everybody goes in with a yardstick or something, and I haven't gotten this straight yet, but they also like fans. You know, this kind of, everybody wants one. I ain't got it. But anyway, we all will need a yardstick. You never can find a good yardstick. And believe me, everybody goes after them. Well, it's an investment on your part to get in that trade show. So you've got to think, what is it I need to get out of the trade show? That means that, and everybody has a giveaway. Everybody in the trade show has a giveaway, don't they? Why? What is it that they want to do? Contact information. That's right. They're creating a database. And we're going to talk about that database in just a second. Okay. Think about, let's shift. You know your consumers. Now, how are you going to sell the product? How are you going to market it? How are you going to just sell it to wholesale and then they're going to distribute it? Are you going to sell it directly to retail? Are you going to market it directly to the consumer? Are you going to use internet? Are you going to have a sales force? Are you going to do a catalog? Are you going to do telephone? Are you going to do advertisements on television and cable and newspaper? How are you going to get it in the consumer's hands? There's a peanut farm over in southeast Virginia who started out by, they were growing the peanuts and selling them directly to a distributor, right? And then they were selling them as Virginia peanuts and marketing them that way. And they decided that when the market fell on peanuts that they needed to do something differently. So they started to process the peanuts themselves. They got a brand. They're putting them in the cans and making different things with them. They developed a catalog. And they were mailing that catalog to their consumers. They started small. They built it, continued, and now they do most of their marketing online. Their database is such that they can do online marketing. So they were using multiple ways of direct sale to the consumer instead of going through a distributor. How are you getting your product to the consumer? How are you doing that? Are you ever partnering with another entrepreneur? It could be that you could joint market. You have similar or complementary products that you could then share the cost of your advertising, your marketing campaign. When we work with agritourism operations around Virginia, what we tell them to do is that 1 agritourism operation is great, 2 is better, 3 or 4 is tremendous opportunity because the visitor will come, and not only will they come to your farm, but you're going to recommend that they go to these other farms too. And then all of a sudden there's a weekend experience, and then they need to stay in the community longer. And as Virginia Tourism tells you, you want your visitors to come, to stay, and spend more money. Stay longer and spend more money. So think about that. The other thing you have to do in marketing is are you going to open a storefront? An actual store for your product, where you're selling that product along with whatever else it is. It's hard to sell massages over the internet. Well, you can sell them, but it's hard to give them over the internet, isn't it? So you have to have a physical location. You've tried to do the YouTube video and say, watch this, you'll get it, but it doesn't work, does it? I didn't think so. What's the cost? What's your price? Remember that other P? What's the price of your product? How will it differ? How does it differ from the competition? We worked with a landscaper recently who told me up front, Martha, our landscaping charges are not going to be the cheapest you're going to get. And I said, really? He said, but our service and the quality of our work is going to be the best you'll get anywhere. And you know, I checked with some of his customers and he was right. So he didn't care what his price was. His price was enough to support his business and support and keep his employees. But what he provided was on-time delivery, quality service, quality products in his plants, and personalized design. See the difference? That's what he was selling. That was his niche. And that's what you want to know. What makes my company, my product, the best in its category? And how do I deliver on that? There is a brand connection. Those of you who have a storefront business, when they walk in, can they tell who the employees are? Not sure. Do you all look the same? Do you have on the same color shirt? Do you have name badges? Are you branded? Branding is an important part of your marketing strategy. Do your colors, are your colors consistent? Do they represent your business? Wherever you go, when you think of McDonald's, what color do you associate with McDonald's? You do, yellow, that golden arch look. That's exactly right. When you think about some of the other companies, Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola, they're specific colors, aren't they? Consistency, branding design, so that when you look at your logo, when you look at your store, you see something that is consistent along the way. There's calling a unique selling proposition. That means that there's a uniqueness about you. That's an interesting phenomenon. If you're not familiar with that concept, I encourage you just to kind of read a little bit more about it, what that is, about how you develop that for your own business. I want to move on and talk to you just a little bit about the different types of advertising that you've got. How many of you right now are advertising in media, print media? Good. Good. Well, I brought a couple ads with me that I wanted to share, and one of them is the Belk sale ad. You have a Belk here in Martinsville, don't you? What's going to get me in the store? 20% off. Why will that get me in the store this week? It's one of their maximum amounts, isn't it? Every now and then I can get a 10%, 15%, but 20%, and notice it's a little sale, single sale item. Single sale, that means it's got to be on sale, right? So the 20% got me all excited. And then I read the fine print. I have an attorney who's a friend of mine. He's a professor at Virginia Tech. And he says, Martha, what the big print giveth, the small print will take away. Okay, I've got another ad. I mentioned Gingerbread House before. And on the Gingerbread House ad for this week, it's in color. And it's fall colors. And right up here, right up front, is that beautiful fall wreath that looks like we all need one. And they've got a good price on it this week. It's not $100. It's only $69.99. So you get but everything else is 25% off. So their color. Now another thing that they will do many times too in this ad and a couple others that you'll see, they'll partner with one of their vendors and they'll split the cost of print media advertising. So if you haven't thought about that in your marketing strategies, think about what vendors do you represent or could you represent in your company. And it may be, if I'm going to use the massage because I talked to some of you before, so I have some ideas. It may be that the products you use, that the vendor would be able to split the cost if you advertise their product in the ad and that you then sell their product in the store. I don't know. When you advertise for a certain oil or motor oil or something, and if you're doing servicing, it could be that that is also the case. So just think about that. So print media is great. Who reads the newspaper? Okay, so what age group are we? If your target market is the younger age group, is the newspaper going to be the best tool? Oh, Facebook, internet, web-based, right. Social media is where you want to go. How many of the television advertising, how many of you think that's out of your reach? Good, then you know that there depends on the time of day. Depends on the length of ad. Don't discount television advertising, cable media. Talk to them about that. How many of you are using signage on your vehicle? Great idea. It's a moving billboard. Excellent tool. Make sure it's appropriate. You know, you've got the whole automobile wraps. You know, you've seen the buses that are fully wrapped. You know, putting ads in those areas. Those are important tools to think about. How many of you are using, we've talked about social media. How many of you are tweeting with Twitter? Couple, thank you, a couple. All right, those of you that have, and it's not just the younger, it's also it's all ages. They're always discovering. How often you tweet can be a detriment to your product. If you're constantly tweeting, people will be ignored but with you, and they will exit you from their list. So be aware of that. Facebook, how many of you have Facebook pages? Yeah, I see you. And you are getting people to like you? Yes. And follow you, and you're posting information on that? That's right. How many of you are blogging? Okay, well, we definitely want you to think about blogging. If you have a product to sell, why don't you blog? I went to a hairdresser a month or so ago, and she was telling me about this brand new hairspray. That it was brushable, it was this, it was that. It was like a miracle drug. I said, oh my gosh, you ought to be sharing this. What a great idea. And she was also talking about color. Now, what woman does not want to get the best color and the best hairspray or the best cut. So what a great opportunity to blog about those things. New products and new services. Why massage is important, what you're following, get a following with that. Now, I know the answer to this. Are any of you signed up on Groupon? One or two? Well, we need to increase the number of businesses who are using Groupon for this area, because right now this area is not represented. You have to go through Roanoke to get access to your Groupons, or Greensboro. So I wanted you to think about that, and I'll explain what those are. So when you think about advertisement, think about some of these tools. So let's talk about it. Dan Valley Foods, I interviewed Dan Valley Foods a couple months ago, and I thought what he said there was important for any business opportunity. He talks about build a relationship. It's all about relationships. And I'm going to say to you, it's not only with the retailers, it is also with the consumers, to build that relationship. Do different things. I've given you a list of what he says. One of the things that I thought you might be interested in is that sometimes you need some help. You have a great idea for a product, a tremendous idea for a product, but you don't know how to take it into production. You don't know how to do your market analysis. You don't know these things. You've accessed all the free services around. There are other services that will help you take your idea from conception to commercialization. And I've listed a few websites. Extension does not recommend anything or anyone to you, but these are just suggestions for you to take a look at about who has what and how to move that product forward. So be aware that there are companies who will do that, but also when you go into those companies and you're considering them, make sure you know what they're going to take from you, what percentage they're asking to help you move your product, and how long. I mentioned Edison Nation a few minutes ago. This is their website, and you notice it says that was my idea. I wish I had done something with it. That's their quote. How many times have you seen a product on the market and you go, I wish I had done something. That was my idea. Write your ideas down. That's why everything gets in writing here. And then as you develop it to as far as you can go, you can then take it to others to look at. Let's talk about all this about social media, and I want you to see. Before we step into the world of social media, let me make sure you know that there are some risks. When someone has a bad experience, it used to be they would tell 10 to 12 people, and then it would kind of go away. And you go, oh, 10 to 12 people. Well, it was still, but now they tell 10 to 12,000. Yes. And then it keeps going. And it never goes away. Once it's on the internet, it's always on the internet. So you've got to be alert to what you would do and have a plan if there's negative messaging about your company, about your service. How do you respond to it? You also need to understand that when you're working with social media, electronic advertising, who's managing that site? Who's going to update it regularly? Even in Extension, we constantly are pulling at ourselves because how do we keep the site updated? Who's posting? There's a workshop, a conference that we held back in May that is still listed on the state website. And I keep calling going, y'all need to take that down. It's happened already. Let's put something else up there. And it's such a small piece of the website that, I can't get the box checked off on that yet. So think about that. And how much time are you going to spend on social media, really? It's time consuming. It can absorb your day. So you've got to plan for this and put it down. Also, who is maintaining your site? I want to tell you, and I'm not going to give the name, but you have a tremendous website developer here in the Martinsville area. Tremendous. A lot of people are accessing that particular company to help them develop websites. They're fast, they're right, they know what they're doing. So I compliment you for that. So how much do they charge you to develop? Who's going to host the site for you? If you're in business, you need a website that gives credibility to you. You've got to have that. But the design part of it is important. Your logo is important. So who's doing that for you? If you have not been to Yelp.com, I want you to go there. You can look up any store, anywhere, just do a search, and you can find out what people are saying about you. I pulled up some information about some of the companies in Martinsville to see what was being said. What is Blue Fly? It's a catalog company? Okay, well, they're listed here on Holly Drive. Your Office Max is listed here. Most of these are not, most of these are national companies that are listed. So somewhere, and you can put things on Yelp too. And one of the things I have heard, I cannot validate this, but that's why you monitor this, is sometimes competitors say things about their competition. So you need to be alert and know how you're going to respond if that happens. So let's talk about a few of the resources. How many of you have business cards? Good. Everybody needs a business card. Well, there are sources for you that will give you a set of free business cards when you're first getting started. You've got great printing resources locally. Get a design, price those out. One of the things I have found that people forget is they don't make their phone numbers visible. They're so small, and they don't put their web address on there if they need to go visit them on the web. So make sure your contact information is clear and visible. Also, can it be duplicated? If the card is so dark, and they gave an example of one, if I were going to make a copy or scan it, can I still see it? We were working with a company recently, it was a nonprofit, and they had designed a letterhead. The letterhead used yellow. When you made a copy of the letterhead, you could not see the yellow. Black and white copy, totally gone. So be alert to those when you're marketing. I laughed about the door magnet, but when we talk about advertising on your car, that's a running billboard. Think about it. But boy, you better make sure you're behaving if you're driving a car with an advertising sign on it. So make sure, just be alert. VistaPoint was a good idea, and we found these that were related to some low cost or some free designs for you. Also, there's an email marketing through Google. I want you to be alert to what Google is doing. There are a lot of tools that are on the line, and one that I did not include, but I wanted to make sure you knew about this. How many of you have been to MapQuest recently? Are you aware of the neighborhood that they've set up? There is a neighborhood option on MapQuest, which means your business needs to be on it. And what it did, I did a search for Martinsville, and I did a search for grocery stores, Leatherwood Grocery, Woodland Heights Market. Y'all know these grocery stores? Okay. Of course, Food Lion, Midget Market and Grill, Taylor Supermarket. So when I went to MapQuest and I clicked in the neighborhood, my neighborhood option, and I clicked where I were looking for hotels or grocery stores or retail stores, not many retail stores on here. You want to be listed, so go visit MapQuest. And there is a place where you can create a MapQuest merchant account. It's under listings.mapquest.com. And I've got a sample of it up here for you if you want. So go visit. You want to make sure your business is listed. You also want to be up in Google. You want to make sure that you have a business account in Google and that you're listed. One of the reasons you want to make sure that your coordinates and all of the different locators are put on Google is so that when they are doing their GPS models, they can access you. People are doing that regularly. Then you don't want them to locate you. You want your website. You want your website on there.
So I just got something from Google, and so you really didn't want to.
Well, I want you to evaluate that. The question was, what if I'm a home-based business? What would I do? Sometimes they're listing post office boxes instead of actual street addresses for home-based businesses. You cannot put an indicator on a post office box. But you can also, probably Google has some contact, and I don't know the answer to that question, but talk to their customer service department about a home-based business. But you do want to be, where are you selling? Think about that too. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
What she was
You need to ask that question. But you would only use a P.O. box, not a home as a suggestion. You decide what you want to do. Exactly. And make sure your phone number is extremely visible. The phone number is an access point of entry for you that you want to make sure you give to people. Or an email address. There are some companies, when they have contact us on their website, that you end up can only send an email through that website. Have you seen that option? Well, I don't know how, that is not my favorite way to contact someone. I really want a direct email address, or I want a direct phone number. I don't need a mailing address unless I'm trying to get to you. But I can call you or email you to get that if I need you. Does that make sense? So have a conversation with Google and with MapQuest and some of the others about your options if you're being listed. On your website, you definitely, there are places you can get a free website. It's limited. Now, let me share with you, and I gave this to you. It's at Vistaprint. They give you a lot of free things initially. And they'll want to sell you up. When you are developing your website, be certain that you have full control over that website so that you can then edit it. In other words, if I pay someone to develop my website, do I own the materials? And then can I take this to someone else for editing? Or can I edit this myself? How can I keep it current? Does that make sense? You've got to continually update your website, so be alert to that. We talked a little bit about social media. I asked the hairdresser, I said, do you tweet? She said, no. And I said, well, do you use Facebook? She said, no. I said, are you growing your business? She said, no. All right, so in this conversation I was having with this service provider, her business was at a maximum. She's already grown it to her capacity. Is your business at a maximum? Are you growing? Then why wouldn't you be tweeting? There's a restaurant in South Hill, Virginia that will send out a tweet or a Facebook message and an email in the middle of the afternoon when business is slow saying, pies will be fresh. Tonight for dinner we're serving lasagna. Now my friend who's with Virginia Tourism tells me that immediately wakes her children up and they all want to go to that restaurant. Trust me, I stopped by the restaurant and bought the pies and took them home. So those are important facts where you're enticing, you're getting people excited. You know, drums will be playing later on Friday night. Come hear us at wherever. You know, local dancing, all of these things people want to know about. They may not attend, but I bet you they'll tell somebody else. So that electronic messaging is important. And tweeting, if you don't tweet, ask someone. I went to Twitter to see who was tweeting. Not many people in Martinsville are tweeting, so I want you to take a look at that. I went to Facebook and did a search, and of course, who's up here? There's Hooper's ready to go on Facebook, but I didn't have your businesses to find out to search for either. So anyway, be alert. Groupon we talked about a little bit earlier. If you aren't offering, how many of you have used a Groupon? You've got to subscribe. It's the most fun. My son and his wife went to a play because Groupon offered them a deal. You will get people into your business. Normally what you do is you offer a special, and it only occurs after you've sold so many. So you've got to do the numbers. So restaurants and others, they do the numbers. Now how this works, I don't know how it would work with a nonprofit, but yeah. So anyway, may be more for just retail. So I want you to think about Groupon. I've given you the contacts. Living Social is another one you want to look at, to who's doing what, and it gives offers for you. So how many of you are familiar with the QR codes? Oh, I love you for doing that. If you don't know about QR codes, the Economic Development Office knows all about. They've got a researcher there and the marketing person that can help you with those codes. Sometimes you think if I get my product in big stores, I'm all set. People, I'm going to tell you that's not always the case. There are setup fees and shelving fees that you have to do, and you have to be able to supply. So I want you to be aware of that. How many of you are advertising over radio? If not, consider it. I've given you the radio locator in this region. Their marketing or for the state, I mean, you can do a search anywhere you want to, but they will tell you what their target market is for their radio station, and you see if it matches yours. If you're advertising in newspapers, don't just think your local newspaper is going to be the way to go. There are other opportunities. So I've given you a place where you can access the newspapers. Think about how you advertise and how you can partner with others. There are also local magazines. If you're food, you want to know about these magazines. But there are other magazines like Cooperative Living. Why wouldn't you want a Cooperative Living magazine to do a feature on this area and to include you in it? They do it all the time. The area promotes, so it's wonderful. Trade shows we've talked about, festivals and fairs. I've given you a listing, especially for the festivals. You can do a search for this and find out who's where in case you want to bring your product to those fairs. Other resources that you definitely want to take advantage of, your economic development. How many times are we going to say this? The Virginia Small Business Development Center is filled with opportunities and information for your business. Great tools. The Q&A guide is listed there. Extension developed one earlier, so you want to do that. Again, if you're food-based or if you're Virginia-based, you can get a Virginia Finest. If your food is a Virginia grown. So take a look at these websites, see what they have to offer you. I'm going to go on past all the food information because you know all of that. But if you are a business in Virginia, if you're a manufacturing business, if you have a product you're developing, there are marketing resources that can there. Food-based, the Food Drug Administration for the USDA, I've given you some of that, but again, we don't have any food-based. So let's stop at the Virginia Department of Business Assistance. They are there for small businesses. Robin, Lisa have direct contact with those offices. They know exactly what services. Recently, I talked to them and they said, it was about another business, and they said, are they hiring 6 new people? And I said, no, they're not going to hire but a couple. Are you sure it's not 6? And I said, no. So talk to them about what's available, about their different programs that they offer, especially when you're into expansion. If you have questions about business management, SCORE.org is a great resource for you, and I've listed that. And there is a chapter in the Martinsville area for you, so I've put that up there for you as well. The Virginia Tech has a business technology center out of Pamplin, the College of Business at Pamplin. You definitely, Dr. Dick Daughtry, sometimes he is the director there. They can do special projects for you if you're needing research done on your business. There is also a toolkit on the web and an idea cafe on the web, and I've given you those web addresses for you that offer some good resources, some good tools for you. We talked about food-based businesses a little bit. Extension, lots of publications for you, lots of connections if you go to that website related to business entrepreneurship and others. Starting and growing your small business is a great tool for you for Q&A. I've listed those. Bottom line, and I've given you some other handouts in your packet that I hope you'll use as you're developing your plan, whether it's a news release. Isn't it great to release news about your business to the media? Free advertising. You co-sponsor an event. Why wouldn't you send in a note to your local newspaper that this business participated in this event, or that this business was just recognized in some way? Those are great ways to get your company, your organization out in the media. So I leave you with a message that says, first of all, quality. Quality in your product or in your service. Do it better than anyone else. Think about how you promote it. Buyers need to be educated. It's going to be up to you to help educate that buyer about why your product is the right thing that meets their needs. Price. Can you do it cheaper? Cheaper's not always the best way, but basically, can you provide a better value in the price? That's what it's about. It's about good value for the money the people are investing. And how do you distribute yourself? And part of the distribution of the product is also part of marketing. How do you market this tool? Whew, I feel like that's a lot of information coming at you pretty quickly, but I've tried to put everything in writing for you. Now, it's your turn. We've got a little bit of time. What questions do you have? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
What was that website again for MapQuest?
Oh, the MapQuest? Yes, ma'am. To create your account on MapQuest, it's under listings, listings, .mapquest.com. And I'll just leave this back here, and y'all can pass that around. Other questions? Comments?
I read somewhere about the Groupons, and they were saying that businesses that had used it weren't real satisfied because they had overwhelming number of people that came in that were looking for a bargain, and they never came back again, and what they were selling they didn't make any money on.
When you have, she said that with Groupon, that some of the companies that had used Groupon were not satisfied with Groupon because they had a tremendous number of people that came in and used the Groupon, but they never came back. There was no repeat business. So as a business, how do you manage, or how would you respond to that fact, if that's a fact? That you're going to have a tremendous number of people who come in, who use the Groupon, who get your service or get your product at a reduced price, but never return. What would you do, Elijah?
Make sure that their experience is good enough that they want to come back.
Make sure their experience is good enough that they want to come back. And create a personal relationship with them. Make sure, what I find, a lot of companies are not building their database. That when people are actually coming in, they're not capturing that information on that customer, contact information. They don't have they're not doing it. And then there's no follow-up with them. Like as soon as the customer leaves, are you following up and saying, thank you for using Groupon. You might be interested in this next special. We want to give you a heads up on it. In other words, build the relationship. Remember, Dan Valley Foods talked about relationships. That was his advice as a business owner. He's right on the money. It is about the relationship. So that's a great idea. Any other thoughts on how you would build that, how you would address that fact? Yes, ma'am.
By doing promotions, more promotions on it.
More promotions on it. Don't just do one. Keep tracking those numbers. Keep people, we can get them in the habit of coming back. Great idea. Other comments? Thoughts for the day, lessons learned. What are you taking away from this hour session today? Anything?
Write it down.
Write it down. Yes! Get the business plan. What else are you taking away? Reevaluating your services. Are they effective? Is it what the customer wants? Or how's it being received by the customer?
Reevaluating
Target markets. Yes. Making sure it's clearly defined and that you know where those pockets of people are located. And also the geographic area. If you're focusing just on one small area, is that really to your benefit? You know, or do we need to expand? And if we do, what's our radius for where people will come? That also means you need to know your customers, and that goes back to gathering the information on them. Do a geographic search. So even if you're using just a simple spreadsheet, and of course there's marketing software all around and tools that you can use to capture this information, but just be aware, simple spreadsheet, name, address, you know, and sort, you know, with an email address. Capture it in many ways as you can. What else is your takeaway for today? Partnerships, that's right, that's right. Whether it's a relationship with another company that can have brochures for you in their company or marketing materials where you can do joint advertising together. Whatever it is, you can promote each other's businesses. Do not let yourself stand alone. If you've got a partner, a natural partner, use them, encourage them, and be a true partner. Collaborate, communicate. Yes, please.
I came in late, I'm sorry. Sometimes in my business, I'm in healthcare, so sometimes things come up and you can't
That's
always
right.
be out on time. So I do apologize for walking
That's
in
fine.
late. But I'm Talisa Riddle, those of you who do not know me. I'm the marketing director for Blue Ridge Rehab Center in Blue Ridge Manor. And speaking on partnerships, just recently, and just to let you guys know, in case, especially new people that's starting up their own business, there is a new mall coordinator, Wayne Singleton. Very nice gentleman. He's new to the area, wants to be part of the community, wants to be involved in the chamber and different things. Talk to him. He wants to bring the mall alive again, our local mall.
Okay.
So my thing was, got a couple of businesses that deals in the same field, healthcare, that we could feed off of. So I wanted to bring Blue Ridge out into the community, let people know what we've got going on. And so I asked a couple of other businesses to join me. And so Mr. Singleton, very, very excited about us wanting to come and set up over there. So he does charge a mall fee to set
Right.
up. But he wants to bring people in, so it's a win-win situation.
And that's the
so
partnership, isn't it?
Exactly. So I want to let people know, contact Mr. Singleton at the mall. Get over there and make do your table. He'll provide you a table, but you can talk that out and work with him. But bring your businesses there, and then it's a win situation for him. You can get your name up on the sign out there. Blue Ridge and a couple other businesses, we had ours out. We kind of promoted it as a health fair day. Got people in to shop, see our services. And
So
stuff.
that is a prime example of partnerships, of where similar or related entities are coming together, displaying, bringing the public in, and educating. Now, let me remind you that when you do special events, special promotions, just like the Groupon or anything else you do, you must track your numbers. How did you do? What was the return on your investment on that marketing strategy? Yes, one more. Got time for one more?
That you have to watch all the time is the bottom line, because that if it's going to cost you more, you're going to do it again,
That's excellent. She says one thing you have to watch all the time is the bottom line. You are not in missionary work. That is a wonderful occupation, but as a business owner, you are not missionaries. You have got to track your numbers. And every business, nonprofit, any other business, will track all the numbers and the return on their investment for whatever it is. How did you know about my company? Where did you hear about me? Was it through the newspaper? Was it my radio ad? As soon as you do any type of advertising, track those numbers. Well said.